5 years ago, I realized I needed to make a change. I was 25 years old and I was exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So I decided to try slow living. My name is Kirsten, and this is a space for the Cozy Girls to collectively learn how to consciously love ourselves and others. Today I'm looking back at my 5-year journey to share the story of how slow living actually healed me. Before we get into this video, let's quickly break down slow living. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, slow living is living life at a pace that feels right for you, rather than the pace that society has set for you. It's an intentional way of living life, inviting you to move through your day with awareness and presence. It's not about doing nothing, but actually about doing everything more deliberately. And most importantly, when life feels most overwhelming, slow living gives you permission to breathe, which is exactly what I needed in 2020. My first year of slow living was all about small shifts. I didn't change my life overnight, I just started changing my sleep schedule. Over the course of 6 months, I went from 4 to 5 hours of sleep and frequent all-nighters to 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. The next shift was my skincare routine. I went from using whatever skincare I had whenever I remembered to actually using a cleanser, toner, and moisturizer on my face twice a day. Prior to this, your girl had definitely been taking advantage of the fact that her skin never gave her problems. The next shift was eating. I'd always followed an unrestricted diet and I didn't want that to change, but I also felt like I needed to prioritize foods that gave me energy, like whole grains, leafy greens, and healthy fats. So I found creative ways to include them in my meal rotations. My final shift was hair care. I have curly hair and I felt like I wasn't taking care of my hair the way it deserved to be taken care of. So I switched up my products and learned some low effort hair care routines that I could incorporate into my week. These shifts weren't grand gestures, they were micro moments of self-care. They were my way of teaching my body and mind how to slow down, how to embody slow living as a daily practice. By my second year, my new slow living lifestyle faced its first major obstacle when I started my master's degree. As a social justice educator, my focus is dismantling oppressive systems in society, but ironically, academia is a breeding ground for hustle culture. It convinces you that your worth is tied to how much you produce, how little you sleep, and how stressed you are. I had to consistently make the conscious choice to unlearn that conditioning. I let go of academic perfectionism, I set strict boundaries on my study hours, and I refused to prioritize my degree at the expense of my well-being. During this year, I learned that slow living isn't a luxury you practice when life is easy. It's a boundary you protect when life gets busy. By my third year, I learned to use my master's degree to support my slow living lifestyle. Part of my master's in social justice education was a deep dive into disability justice. I myself have been a part of the disabled community since I was 13, but I never studied the principles of disability justice before. They taught me that our bodies and minds inherently deserve love and require rest. I started to understand that slowing down wasn't just a personal preference, it was an act of radical liberation in an ableist society. I stopped trying to force my body and mind to fit into a fast-paced world, and instead I chose to shift my lifestyle to center my well-being. Then came year 4, the year my entire world shattered. My mom, the center of my universe, died. Suddenly, within seconds. I had no idea how to continue living in a world that made no sense to me, and yet I could feel the expectations of others to keep moving, to keep working, to turn my pain into purpose. But slow living gave me the tools to resist that pressure. It became my anchor through my grief. I didn't fight the sadness. I let my body feel everything it needed to feel. I didn't go back to work. I actually quit my job because it didn't really matter to me anymore. And I spent my days simply existing, slowly learning day by day how to face a world that I no longer recognized. During this year, slow living showed me that life can sometimes be as simple as living moment to moment. Year 5 brought with it my beautiful baby girl, Kaya. What a whirlwind of giving birth, experiencing postpartum, keeping a baby alive, and the profound realization that I was now mothering without a mother. And then there are the unrealistic expectations that society places onto moms without providing much of a support system. But instead of letting the external world overwhelm me, I brought slow living into my motherhood journey. I rejected the supermom myth and drowned out unsolicited opinions. Instead, I focused on being present, setting boundaries, and showering myself with love. I knew that raising a conscious child started with modeling a conscious life. Slowing down allowed me to love myself and my child simultaneously. Now we're in year 6. I am balancing running a business, managing a household, and raising my daughter to be a mindful and loving member of society. If you looked at my schedule on paper, it looks packed, but in reality, my days always feel slow. The beauty of a 6-year practice is that slow living is no longer something I do. It's who I am. It's how I think. It's what I believe. It's working smart instead of working hard at my job. It's building reliable systems for my home. It's being unapologetically human in front of my child. I do so much less now than I did 6 years ago, and I'm so much happier for it. My life is now consistently a reflection of peace and joy. And even when I face obstacles, slow living calms my nervous system and empowers me to center my well-being as I navigate whatever life throws my way. 6 years later, I can confidently tell you, slowing down didn't ruin my productivity. It saved my life. It allowed me to build a home that is a true reflection of the world I deserve, the world I want my daughter to grow up in. If you're interested in learning more about slow living, here's a guide I made earlier this year, as well as a peek into how I practice slow living with my daughter. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!